So my first grow is well underway. I got 2 plants going. The temperature inside my tent's about 75 degrees. The humidity is between 50 and 60%. The light's 24 inches away. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. And 3 weeks into my grow, everything starts to wilt. What's up with that? So I was depressed. I remember texting you a picture and saying, Randy, help me out here. What's wrong with my
And I remember seeing those photos. And I'm going like, these look really wretched. They were all twisted and bent. And I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with these things? And it kind of looks like it could have been like a nutrient lockout, like they weren't getting food, but they were too young. There shouldn't have been any of this kind of problem.
No, and I hadn't fertilized at all.
Well, that was what I ended up asking. Have you been fertilized? No, I hadn't. I said, okay, well, what kind of soil are you using? And you wanted to say that you were using this.
Well, I had pulled out a bag of sea soil, and we had been using it in our garden beds, like flower beds, for years, And I mixed it with about 25% peat moss. That's the way I planted the tomatoes in the yard every season, and I never had any issues.
Right. Well, when you mentioned this thing about this sea soil, I'd never heard of this. So what I did, I immediately went on to Dr. Google, try to find out what this is. And what I found out was sea soil is a top dressing. And by top dressing, what I mean is it's something you would place on the top of your garden because it's very, very heavy in nutrients. And so it's going to slowly leach on down and feed your garden over a period of time. But what had happened with Greg is that he had put his plants into this super rich soil. And really what it was way too hot. It was burning the roots, and these poor little plants were just roasting in the soil. So that was really what we saw there. So you thought you'd maybe give it a whirl, and he's asked me, well, what kind of soil should I use? And you had some other soil there, just some potting soil.
What kind of soil recipes did you use when you were growing?
Well, I used to always mix my own soil, and so I would use peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, worm castings, and dolomite lime. And those would be, but when we were doing it like this, we were doing it in huge vats.
Yeah.
So quite different. But for you, I said, you know what? If you've got some good, potting soil, I'll give that a whirl. So you thought, okay, what the heck? I'll give it a try.
I went out and bought an organic potting soil, and I mixed it with a little bit of peat moss.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm going to try to salvage these little babies. So I repotted them into fresh soil in little 4-inch pots, and I put them back in the tent and was kind of like, are they going to make it? And lo and behold, about 2 or 3 days later, one of them it never came back. I went up and touched it, and it just crumbled away. The other one, surprisingly enough, looked pretty healthy. But I knew I wanted to start new plants for the tent, so I took it outside, found the sunniest spot, planted it in there, and about 4 weeks later, it started to look really weird.